I throw a lot of questions out, and this is where you guys come in. For those so inclined, you're invited to step forward up here, offer your thoughts, your wisdom, or just add to the list of questions. Do you have balance? How did you get there? Or how do you hope to get there? Are those the wrong questions? We all learn from each other, and we want to give everyone who's so inclined the opportunity to talk. So we'll try to keep things on point, but please, if you have any thoughts, come forward and we'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Come on up here.
We need to use the microphone.
Well, maybe.
Exactly. We gotta work. It's working.
Okay. Come on up.
Just in time.
Okay. I think everything you need to know, you can learn playing golf. And Bill Hackett and I played golf a couple weeks ago. And the one thing you need to know when you play golf here is that everything flows down to the lake. And
I noticed.
yeah, he's a geologist. So I had to remind him the mountains are up there, the lake's down there. So when you're putting, if you can't tell what level, assume it all goes to the lake. So I was trying to show Bill what a good golfer I am. And I couldn't do twit because that was my mindset. And then I thought, shit, excuse me. It was like, this is ridiculous. I'm not a good golfer now. I could be someday, and so could Bill. He can be you can be a good golfer. You have to practice. So anyway, I just forgot about trying to prove anything, and I relaxed, and then I played golf. You got to let the club do the work. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Yep.
Others, please come on up.
I really appreciated. Thank you, Bill. That was really illuminating. Bill's erudite words. My eldest daughter lives in Nashville, and has 4 children, 4 of my grandchildren, said something to me the other day. She's a marriage and child development therapist, and very smart. She got her degree recently from Vanderbilt. Her husband teaches at Harvard. She's a very bright girl, and she said something to her dad, who is always trying to make things way more complicated than they need to be. That and since I'm going through a lot of transitions in my own life, trying to achieve balance, she said, "Dad, you have to understand that you will never figure your life out. It's an impossibility. It's not something that we can't ever capture things, even for a short period of time, in a way that we're going to be satisfied with. So we have to embrace the complexity and the disorder and the imbalance, and we have to be brave in facing that. And as Bill pointed out, really listen to our inner voice, and yes, I think sometimes protect ourselves in order to maintain some state of equilibrium." Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So I have ADHD. I got diagnosed at 46, which explains so many things about my life. It was like receiving the key to the city of my own brain. to quote Hannah Gadsby, who's this wonderful autistic stand-up comedian. But me and my therapist, because I feel like I am an over caffeinated chihuahua, I'm constantly like, must do all the things that we came up. And since this is Utah and we're at church, I won't use the F word. But it's the frick budget. You have only so many fricks that you can spend on things. And so I created a chart and it's like a bullseye. And so in the very center, it's dark green. And those are the things I give the most fricks about. So like my family and my cats, and then the next ring outside is like my job and like my extended family and like my hobbies and my friends. And then, the next ring out is yellow. And that's going to be like things I really like to do, but I have other priorities, but that's still a priority. So like church and some of the volunteer things I do. And then on the outside ring is red. And those are the things we give no fricks about. So like masking or societal expectations or things of that nature, things that I am just not going to allow myself to care about anymore. And having this visual ruler guide to like help me make choices has been very helpful, because instead of trying to cram my days full of all the things that I want to do, it allows me to prioritize so that way I don't burn myself out. So I can find more balance between, my obligations versus the fun stuff, that sort of thing. And it's been very, very helpful. So I highly recommend a frick budget or a frick chart.
I am assuming that at least the microphone is working for the people online.
Yes.
Okay. What could I add to this? Probably tell you about another life I lived years ago in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I was one of the few people who took the program called the Earhart Seminar Training, or EST, which became a joke to a lot of people, was featured on some movies. Supposedly, this was a seminar that you could take weekend after weekend, hour after hour with other people, and come to some knowledge of yourself and some balance. The thing that we all found out was that balance is fleeting. You can capture it for a few moments, or in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley, a few microseconds. But it is fleeting, and we take a hold of that, and we think somehow or other that's supposed to last forever, but it does not. It changes. And if you know anything about human psychology, infrequent good responses to something that happens is probably the best thing you can do to reinforce somebody's belief system. So if you do capture balance once, you want to capture it again. And it's an ongoing process of trying to capture those fleeting moments. And that's my story. And I'm sticking to it.
Breath. Others, come on up. Oh.
Well, my 2 cents is pretty short. What I'm going to say is that balance doesn't have to be moment by moment or day by day or hour by hour or week by week. It can be years. For the first 20 years of my married life, I had 9 kids. So you know what I was doing. I wasn't resting. I wasn't reading much. Once in a while, I'd get a book and spend a day reading and then make up the next day for all the stuff that happened while I was reading. But now, my 9 kids are far away. I hardly ever see him. I talk to him on the phone usually, but I've got all this time. So it all balanced out. The first 20 years are busy, the next 20 years are not.
Right.
Hello. I just like to add my 5 cents from my own life experience. What stood out for me, what I heard from your wonderful speech, Bill, the words complexity, balance, complexity, and all my life, it's still to this point, I'm trying to figure out life. I'm trying to figure out God. It's how crazy I am. And when people come to me, those kind of the same kind of questions, what should I do in so situation? Usually the answer is, and talking from my own experience and now strongly believing in it, to find the balance. Balance is the key. Nevertheless, every day I'm struggling with it, right, on my own. So which brings me, resonate with me what you darling said. It's such a fleeting, motion. Just I'm trying to reach it out, and every day I succeed, another day I fail, though I know it's the right things to do and right things to strive toward. So basically, again, and maybe like your daughter said, she may be dedicated, being doctor in that field, expert, dedicated all her life, to come to that kind of conclusion. So for me, it's very helpful, very beneficial to hear what every single one of you said. So yeah, thank you.
Well, as I sat there listening to everybody, a couple things come to my mind. First is, to me, life is just so much bigger than I am. And when I really come to that realization and believe that, I start, ultimately, the only thing I can do is surrender to it. And in doing that, I find balance. I personally, I just feel like surrendering to so much that goes on in our world. I'm never going to figure it out. I don't think anybody is. So I just, try to realize that, and I try to surrender, because it's way bigger than I am. And that's where I find peace.
Besides golf, there's pea soup. I went to one of those S events when I was in Berkeley for one weekend. And at this retreat house, they had continual weekend after weekend with these events. And, I was in the kitchen and I lifted up the lid on this pot that was down in it was supposed to stay warm or something. And the pea soup was full of mold.
Yeah, Bill, okay.
Well, I've already had my time, but I wanted to tell you another story. And from my experience, and this has to do with a topic, an element of achieving happiness and pursuing balance, happiness being an essential component of balance, that we often neglect. And that is self-care. When I was a graduate student in New Zealand, all the graduate students would converge through the work week, a 5-day week in the department, the geoscience department, and we would intently do our research, confer with our advisors, do our laboratory work, take our samples from field sampling and bring them back to the laboratory and do what we're going to do. And most of the people that were my colleagues were New Zealanders and British scientists in training. Of course, I was an American, had a scholarship to go down there. And we had morning tea, we had lunch, we had afternoon tea, we had conversations in the hallway. And so it was kind of like a corporate work environment that everyone voluntarily engaged in. But my point in telling the story is that I didn't spend nearly as much time in the department as all my grad student colleagues did, because I had met an American expatriate named Bob Berg, who played an instrument with the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra, who taught me how to fly fish. And if any of you are familiar with fly fishing, New Zealand is the world mecca of fly fishing. So Bob Berg, in between his gigs with the orchestra, would periodically call me up and say, "Hey, Bill, what are you doing today, mate?" And he'd find out, whether I could adjust my schedule. And I had control over my own schedule, so I could. So I very often went fly fishing on day excursions, long weekends with Bob Berg. I had an absolutely wonderful time doing it, learning the art of fly fishing, catching these huge, beautiful trout, bringing them home, smoking them, having them for dinner, the great white hunter, right? So my point is that in the end, I would come back from these trips, and my colleagues, my student colleagues, the other graduate students would joke with me and say, "Hey, Bill, where were you yesterday? We were fixing the mass spectrometer in the laboratory, and we really could have used your help. Ha ha. But you weren't here. You were out, fishing or doing something like that." And I just kind of grinned and bore it. But I started later than most of those students, and I finished earlier than all of those students. And the reason was not because I was some big genius that had it over them, was because when I came back from my fishing excursions, I was refreshed, I was ready to go, and I got my work done in short order. So that's the benefit of self-care.
Well, thank you, everybody. A lot there. Heard some common themes, and sounds like it's a pretty universal effort to find that balance. So we bless all these stories of balance and equilibrium. And again, thank you for taking part. Our prayer is Meditation on the Equinox by Reverend Tom Rhodes. Over our heads, the great wheel of stars shifts, the autumnal equinox manifests itself, and for one precious instant, darkness and light exist in balanced proportion to one another. Within our minds, the great web of neurons shifts, new consciousness arises, and for one precious instant, experience and meaning exist together as revelation and epiphany. Within our hearts, the great rhythm of our lives shifts, a new way of being reveals itself. And for one precious instant, the nexus of the body and the seat of the soul truly exist as one. Let us give thanks for those times in our lives when all seems in balance, for those times are rare and precious. The equinox shall pass, the revelation may be forgotten, and our actions will not always reflect our true selves. But through our gratitude, we may remember who we are, reflect on who we may become, and restore the balance which brings equanimity to our lives. Let us be quiet for a moment together. Thank you. John?
We continue our collective prayer by coming forward to engage in our weekly ritual that helps us to collectively hold the challenges and joys of being human. As you light a candle, let it hold your hopes, memories, and gratitudes for this beautiful, complicated world and for our lives. As you drop a stone in our sacred gathered waters, which we refreshed last week. As you drop a stone, may it be an opportunity to imagine those burdens and quests for forgiveness held in a community that will let the stone land with care and intention. Tim lit the candle. Please come forward. Yeah. Check it out. Our offering is a practice of gratitude for this community filled with care and courage, love and resistance. We commit to keeping this community resourced for the ministries ahead, both within our walls and within our community. The offering we collect each week supports us in being the community that can best respond to the needs of these times. As we collect our offering today, remember our interconnectedness and interdependence as we generously offer our care with hopes to support all through these times. Suzanne? No? Charles? Or please rise and facing the center aisle, sing our offering song, maybe a cappella.
It'll be a cappella.
Okay.
From you,
I receive to you. Together we share and forget sweetly. From you I receive to you. Together we share and forget sweetly.
your abundance is recognized, and we will do our best to make good use of the offering.
First, I wanted to note the passing of Russell Nelson, the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He died late Sunday night. Condolences to his loved ones. Now, a few more routine announcements. The upcoming lineup of reading for the book club has been announced, revealed. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams will be discussed October 15th. The Time Machine by H.G. Wells will be discussed November 19th. And Framed by John Grisham will be discussed December 17th. The group gathers in the library here across the hall. First Presbyterian, our colleagues off in the large chapel, the First Presbyterian is hosting a trunk or treat Halloween event on Friday, October 31st from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the parking lot here. And the UUCO has been invited to take part to set up a canopy or tables and offer up some candy. Karen Thurber, who's not here today, is helping out. Reach out to her if you're interested in helping, taking part. And Ascension Lutheran Church in Ogden will be offering a course that explores grief called Gathering Our Grief. It costs $40 and will be held each Tuesday in October from 6:15 to 7:30 p.m. at Ascension Lutheran Church here in Ogden. Codger Coffee still going on each Friday, 9:30 a.m. at Grounds for Coffee at 31st and Harrison. And more details on all of these events are in the UUCO letter. And I see Chalice raising her hand. Do you come on up? Yeah, come on up.
So Friday, this coming Friday, the first Friday in October, I want to say it's the 3rd, is going to be what's called the Empty Bowls event at Weber State University. It's going to be in the Arts Building, and it's from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it's going to be, students have made bowls and they've donated pottery, and then you can buy bowls and there's food that they'll put in it for you. And so it's a fundraising for Weber State Student Pantry for our food bank for the students. And then if you can't make Friday evening from 10 to 2, it's also going to happen again the next day on Saturday morning. So anyways. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Friday night, and then Saturday from 10. Yeah, this coming Friday. Yeah. So it's the first Friday in October. Yeah, October 3rd. And I'm actually, it's part of our Words and Wares honors class. And so actually some of my very novice pottery offerings will be for sale. So anyways, yeah, so check it out. It's that arts building at Weber State. And a lot of books are beautiful.
Arts building at Weber State. How are videos working?
Think so.
Okay. Well, let's give it a chance. So please rise for our closing hymn, which I believe will be played on the screen here, and it's number 108 in the black hymnal, My Life Flows On. Again, number 108.
1, 2. I hear the music ringing. It sounded from my soul. And I hear from singing. Bring the darkness round me. It's on me, and take the call, and bring this love prevail. Now can I keep crossing. When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice so far and near, how can I keep from singing? To the praises of the mountain mile, our thoughts together one ringing. When friends my shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
I see Joseph was rushing a little bit on that one. So
He got up and left.
yeah, yeah. So as the service comes to an end, join me in saying the chalice extinguishing words in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the energy of action. So in the end, we all seek balance. Sometimes we get there, sometimes we don't, sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. Keep it up. Imbalance can be offsetting, but sometimes it's the default. Keep striving, keep searching, and have a good week.